Good morning. It's Elisa James, holistic voice and presentation coach, coming to you from Sydney, Australia in the rain and the lockdown this morning. Now, today is called a Q&A Wednesday, and what I do every Wednesday is I talk about some elements of the voice that people are struggling with. Now, sometimes I might have 3 questions from my YouTube channel, things that people are struggling with and they really want an answer to. Now, of course, since I have thousands and thousands of people asking me questions all the time, I can't answer everything, but I will get through all of those comments and all of those questions as much as I can every single Wednesday. So if you're watching this live on my YouTube channel, The Voice of Confidence TV, feel free anytime to put your question underneath any of the videos that you see, and I will get to the comments. Yes, I do see all of the comments, and if they're clean, I will answer them, and I'm happy to answer them by text, of course, and then also I cover all of those questions on Wednesdays at 8:30 a.m. Sydney time. Now, today I have a very special treat for you because one of my students who's been in the public speaking space for a long time now, he's got loads of experience and he's got beautiful messages to share. He's jumping on with me to ask me some questions that he wants to have answered today. Now, I know you guys are going to love this because it's all about memorizing content and connecting with your audience. And they're two of the biggest things that we as speakers need to be able to master. When people are memorizing content, it can be very, very stressful for some people, especially if you're not a trained actor. A lot of people really struggle with memorizing content, but there's some problems and issues around that. So we're going to discuss that today. So please welcome to the show today, Neil is joining us. Hi, thank you so much for playing in the voice space.
Good morning, Elisa. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you and your audience.
Yeah, you're very, very welcome. So guys, remember, if you are in Facebook, you'll see this streaming inside the Voice of Confidence, Find Your Voice Aspiring Speakers Club. And if you're seeing that live inside the group, just simply comment underneath the video live and ask me any questions or Neil any questions live. It'd be great to have you on the show live. Now, if you're seeing this in a replay, no problem at all. Just put #replay and you can put all your comments and things underneath there as well. But the great thing about allowing StreamYard to actually see the comment is that I get to show the comment on screen if you have any questions. So for instance, I just saw a comment come in and they didn't tell me anything except this, but this is great because it means that when you're watching, I can see and I can answer your questions live. So as you can see, the beautiful Isis just come on and said good morning, which is awesome. So if you would like to be part of this stream, comment below while you see us live. We are live right now. You'll see it on the Voice of Confidence TV and also in Facebook. So let's jump in. Now, tell me a little bit about your journey so far, Neil, around memorizing content.
Okay, thank you, Elisa. I find it difficult to memorize lines and then try to recite it word by word. And when you're in your head, it really just stuffs the whole situation up. So yeah. I'd like to get more understanding in that because I know you have to come from the heart, but at the same time, you still have a message that's required to be passed on.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And so here's the thing with memorizing content. It can be super hard. I work with Toastmasters who do exactly that. Toastmasters, they memorize specific speeches and they spend weeks and weeks, and with a TED Talk, months writing speeches, trying to get it right?
I've heard 600 hours.
600 hours writing a speech?
Well, the finalizing before getting up for a TED Talk.
Wow. Yeah, see, that's a lot of hours. Yeah. And I remember one of the most famous TED Talkers, I can't remember her name right now, I'm so sorry, but her TED Talk is called A Stroke of Insight. And she was a brain surgeon, neurologist, brain specialist. So she knew all about the brain. And that she thought she knew all about the brain until she had a stroke. And then when she was having a stroke, from the inside of her head and inside her body and inside her brain, she could now see from a very different perspective what people actually go through when they have a stroke. So neurologically, she knew as a scientist what people went through, but now she was experiencing it real time. When she did her TED Talk, she rehearsed it 200 times. Now that's after you probably spend 600 hours writing the speech out in the first place, right? So here's the thing with that. Most people are not trained actors. This is the major problem here with learning a speech. If you're not a trained actor, you run into the problem of reading something and making it sound like read content. And the more we practice, the more it gets rooted into a certain pattern. So for example, if you go, did you know that tomorrow is the first day of the rest of your life? You know, we don't speak like that. It might look good on paper, but then when we speak it out and we try to make it sound compelling, it's going to sound plastic, or what I call Disney princess. It's too rehearsed, it's too perfect, it's too plastic. So what we want to do is actually go back to the drawing board. First up, we have to go back to the drawing board. We have to write the script the way that we speak. Many people do it the other way around. Because we don't respect and love ourselves as a speaker as much as we do as a writer. See, when we're speaking off the cuff, and we're experiencing a whole bunch of other things that get in the way with our speech, right? That's called getting into your head instead of getting into your heart. But see, the great thing about writing on paper is that we can spend as much time as we like constructing a perfect sentence that's 10 words long. But we don't speak like that. That's the problem. We can make this beautiful speech that looks amazing on paper and reads like the most intellectually, beautifully complex article. Great to read, not great to speak. So we have to go back to the drawing board first and write out the speech in our words. So I would highly recommend that you read every single line of the speech and then put it down and then imagine what the context of that line is. So for example, what is it that you're trying to say, more or less? Now I want you to re-say it 5 times in 5 different ways. The same thing in 5 different ways. Then while you're doing that, I want you to actually take your phone and I want you to record all 5 of those ways for that little passage or that little paragraph. Then you'll find that when you're listening to it back, one of those ways sounds really good and it feels really good and it's easy to remember because it came out of your mouth. It's not reading the line 5 different ways. No, it's saying that content 5 different ways. So, hi, Neil, how are you? Is one way that I could say that. Hey, g'day, Neil, it's nice to see you. That's another way I could say that, right? Hi, Neil, haven't seen you for ages. Same thing, but they're all slightly different. That's all we're trying to look for. How do I say this sentence or this structure in my words? So does that make sense for you?
It certainly does. It's, you're pitching towards your audience because you're feeling that. In doing those different readings, you'll get a better understanding how you're reaching your audience, being more natural, authentic.
Absolutely, and see, this is a great exercise that actors use all the time, and this is the benefit of having years and years and years of acting training. I've been an actor since I was 11 years old. It's one of the very first things I ever wanted to do, and my very first training, in fact, was as an actor. And it's really fed me well over the years because some of the exercises you go through in memorization and learning scripts is super important for speakers too. And one of the very first things that we do is because we all get nervous and we want to do it right and we want to be perfect and all this, speakers and actors alike, right? But then you've got this script that you're meant to adhere to, and that makes you even more nervous because if you get it wrong as an actor, then you miss a line or you stuff up something, then the other actor is going to be put off because then they don't know where they are and they don't know what they're supposed to say because you've read the wrong line or you've forgotten something, and then everything just goes out the window, right? So it can be very, very disconcerting as an actor and a speaker. But here's the thing. In all acting classes, when you have a speech, yes, we can learn it by rote, and you have to if you want to do a TV show or a movie. But in a workshop scenario, when you're learning a speech for the first time, one of the very first things the director or the acting coach will tell you to do is throw away the script and talk to the other actor as though you're in that scenario in your own words. And then you have this conversation that opens up that's vaguely resembling the script, but it certainly resembles the situation. And this certainly brings up the same emotions because you know your content. You vaguely know it's, an argument between two people about who left the milk lid off or whatever it is. You create this scenario and you have this real conversation. So that's what I ask all my speakers to do when they're writing a script, is go back to the drawing board and write it like that. Now, the second thing that we have to do is, how do we make that more real? Right? So the second question that we need to ask ourselves is, how do we make a script sound conversational? Now, Neil, when you're reading and preparing and writing and rehearsing your scripts, have you recorded it and listened to it back and gauged your own reaction to that?
No, I haven't. So I've basically just recited.
Okay. Yeah. So when you listen to it back, you would know that it probably sounds too contrived or too rehearsed. Yeah. And when it's coming out of your mouth, does it feel not quite right?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, great. So look, it's definitely a feeling that we get for ourselves, but we can't really tell what the audience is experiencing until we actually listen to it back. This is the thing. See, most people that I teach and that I work with, they are so afraid of what their audience is going to see and hear that they avoid the camera and they avoid reading it back. But it is the most important thing that we do. Look at any work that you would do around the world, anything, whether you're an engineer, whether it's, let's say, a digital marketer, because that would be a very simplistic thing. If you're a digital marketer and you're trying to track SEO, well, you can't just do the back end of SEO and then expect it would be working without tracking it, right? What you'd actually have to do is go behind the scenes, look at the analytics and say, okay, people came onto the page and they stayed for 2.5 seconds and then they scrolled over these things, but they didn't like that, so they didn't click and then they jumped off. Well, that's tracking and analyzing what our work is actually doing. We have to do exactly the same as speakers, as actors, as singers. We need to track and analyze. That's the only way that we can get feedback. And the way that we do that, first and foremost, is with video and with audio. And I highly recommend that you don't even worry about video first. You actually only do the audio. And here's why. The sound of the voice will make or break a speech. The sound of the voice will make or break a podcast. The sound of the voice will make or break a speaking presentation. It doesn't matter what we look like or how we present ourselves if the voice is not in alignment with our message. That's first and foremost. People will get over whatever it is. So, for instance, a really great example of this is there's a gentleman that sings on the corner of the streets here in Sydney when we're not in lockdown, and he has elephantitis.
Wow.
Is the most extraordinary bad case of elephantitis, and it's very hard to look at. Right? It's very confronting for us humans to have that in front of us and we don't know what to do or how to react or where to look. But it's so inspirational, because if you close your eyes and listen to him sing, oh my God, your heart would melt. He has the most beautiful sound. He has the most beautiful energy. His vibration just fills up the entire space and connects with people so well. But you have to, our own limitations and lack thinking, we have to get over that to be able to open our eyes and welcome him into our heart. Okay, so the voice is always first for me. I think it's a make or break scenario. And then secondary is how we show up in space presenting ourselves, because people will make a judgment from those two things. You know, are we neatly presented? How do we sound? Right? So let's move on to how to make that conversational. Well, first of all, we've solved the first problem, because the first problem is always the script. If the script is written like a script, like a read content, it's going to be very hard for people to feel that as real chat. So we've got to make that script more conversational in the writing of the script. Then when you're actually learning the script, I want you to make sure that you can practice it in 10 different ways. Don't practice it over and over and over and over again with the same spaces, the same pauses, the same inflections, because it's not a song, it's a spoken content. You've got to make it sound different every time. That's your goal. So if you go up with a question, the next time go down. See how it feels. If you make, how do we make a script more conversational? Do it really, really fast. Or how do we make a script conversational? Completely change it up, right? How do we make a script conversational? See, when you're looking at your script, I want you to play with every single line and make it different every single time. And you will settle into something that feels good, and it will be slightly different every time. This is where the magic is. And the inspiration that I got for this, and I, as I said, I've done this all my life. I remember the turning point for me was when I listened to a Duke Ellington interview years and years ago, and it was back from the 1970s. So I'm watching it in the 1990s or whatever. But Duke Ellington, you know, the A Train and all that from the 1930s and 40s. He was the only musician that traveled America consistently and did 365 shows for more than 20 years in a row. Wow. 365 days he did gigs. He didn't stop. Every day it was a different town. On the bus, new town. On the bus, new town. On the bus, new town. I know what touring is like. It's exhausting. And the interesting thing is they were playing the same 2 sets every night. That's what people wanted to hear. A Train or Satin Doll or, you know, whatever it was. All his famous songs, he did them every night. Can you imagine 365 times a year for 20 years doing the same songs? You'd think you'd do your head in, right? And an interviewer said, how on earth do you do the same songs every single night? Don't you get bored out of your brain and you want to write new songs? And he said, no. He said, when you learn something so well and it's in your muscle memory so well, that's the moment that you can start to play with it and shift it and move it. And then every single time I play it, it comes out slightly differently and I learn something new. And it was so exciting to hear that the power of that variety is in our own mind and our own body. We have complete control over that. You don't need to make it same every time. It should be different every single time. And then see which one works the best. You know? Let's see let's go to the comments for a second. Facebook user. Yeah, thank you so much, whoever you are on Facebook. We really appreciate you being here. When you don't allow StreamYard to see your name or see your comments, we just get Facebook user. So it's fine. We're happy about that. But anytime that you want to ask a question so I can help you better, please just let StreamYard see your comments. That would be awesome. Now, before we move on to the final and third question here, Neil, do you have any feedback or questions around the first 2 points?
I'd just like to give you an example. Matthew McConaughey, Sleeping Like a Baby. Have you heard it? The audio?
No, but I've heard lots of really good things about it.
Amazing. And that's call it a level of perfection in the way that he gets that across in that audio book. So that, to me, is an area where I wish to inspire too. The other thing is I had the opportunity of meeting Robin Williams, and the beauty of that was the authenticity. He was so authentic, and he's such into humanity in the way that he expresses and the way he connects with his audience. So it was amazing to have that opportunity. As I said, he's a brilliant comedian, or was a brilliant comedian, and certainly inspirational in the way that he could connect with the audience. And I'm sure he would have done the same thing what you're saying in regards to making sure it was different each time, because he just exploded in his presence.
Oh, yeah. But see, he wasn't afraid. This is what I love about actors, and especially about comedians. They're not afraid to explore. They've lost all sense of self-protection, for want of a better word. When we're actors, when you're a good actor, you have no right to self-protect or preserve your ego. Absolutely no right whatsoever, because it doesn't work. You have to be able to pull out every emotion every second of the day whenever it's required. You have to be able to cry, laugh, dance, sing, be stupid, be a tree, whatever. You're expected to do all these things. And so you figure out very quickly, if you want to do well and you want to feel good about yourself in the acting process, you have to learn to let down your guard and be willing to play like a child. So when we are willing to play and get back to that childlike innocence of creativity and learning and trial and error, when we allow ourselves to play, we actually open up so much more of our life. And that's what I think the beauty of really good communication is that when somebody is open and authentic like Robin Williams, like Matthew McConaughey, they are open to anything. They can have any conversation with anyone, anytime. Imagine the power in that when there's no fear anymore. There's just rest and comfort and knowing yourself and that you're okay regardless of what happens, regardless of what the person says or does or how they respond. You know where you stand from your point of view and from your vibrational energy. You know that because you're very solid in yourself. And then when you're solid in yourself with that self-confidence, then you can just play. So that's so true. Yeah, authenticity is the absolute key. And we've got to let down our guard, and we've got to be aware that we need to open our heart chakra, we need to open our throat chakra, and be willing to just have that open vibration and be willing to connect and be seen and heard by our audience in the most powerful way. We have to be ready to do that. So let's have a look at how the voice, the frequency, because that's important. And it's a bit of science and a bit of art here. And it's much more, it's more to cover than we can do in a very short conversation. But how do you feel right now, Neil, when you're connecting with a live audience?
It's a difficult situation for me because most of the times I have to get out of the mind and feel the audience and feel how I can best serve, because it's not about me. It's about the message and passing that on. So when I do that, I find that I do become relaxed in the mind, and the vibration and the frequency seems to be a lot more resonant, and being able to connect with your audience. It's amazing the difference when you, as you're saying before, you're trying to do a script and you're just reading it word by word. There's no energy, there's no vibration, there's no feeling coming through. It really makes a connection with your audience.
That's right. And because, as you said right in the beginning, it's not about you. And when we make it about us, when we make it about being perfect, when we make it about the script and getting it right, we're not concentrating on the audience at all. And why do we speak? We speak for others. We don't speak for us. All speaking is public speaking. Every single time we open our mouth is for the benefit of somebody else, to connect with somebody. It's for them, not for us. We don't have to open our mouths to think and have our own conversation with ourselves. We just don't. We just do that silently. So when we're connecting with somebody else, it's all about vibration and frequency and connection with the heart. So here's the thing. There's a few things that I want to just bring up science-wise, and there's a reason for this, of course. Now, when we're looking at frequency and vibration at first, we're going to look at the scientific side of that first, and then we're going to look at spiritual, holistic, vibration, intention, love, all that sort of stuff on this, or more woohoo if you like. So we're going to look at science first. When they did a survey years ago in the 80s about what was the most beautiful voices in the entire world, why did people like them? Why did people vote for them? And these were the things that they said when they researched hundreds and hundreds of speakers, and they researched and they asked people hundreds of questions. And this is what everybody voted on. They found that when the speaker had the right pitch, they had a lack of annoying or abrasive sounds in the sound of their voice, they had a beautiful quality of tone, and then the airflow was balanced. All of that led to a great voice. Now, this is the interesting thing about a great voice, a subjectively perceived by the audience great voice, is that when you have a nice voice and it's pleasant and there's a lack of, annoying sounds, it's easier to listen to for long periods of time. That's the science of it. I've never met, in all of my years of teaching, I've never had a student come to me and say, Elisa, I want to sound like Fran Drescher. Can you help me? Can you imagine?
Oh my God, Mr. Sheffield, I want to be a public speaker and I would love to speak like that.
I think our audience would go, they wouldn't be able to get past the sound of the voice, and it would take them a long time. They might eventually, if they were called out on it, but it's hard for people to get around abrasive and annoying sounds. So for instance, if the pitch is too high or the pitch is too low, it's going to be hard for the speaker to really solidify that beautiful mid sound, and it's going to be hard for them to project, or hard for them to be perceived as respected and trustworthy. Annoying sounds like annoying, like too much air, not enough air, squeaky sound, constriction, tension, throat sound, all of that scientific placement of sound. If that's wrong, then that's going to be a bit annoying and a bit off-putting for people as well. The same with, the way that we construct our sentences. So when we look at the science, if we just get rid of the things that are annoying and disruptive to the message, then people will listen to us for longer. Now, when people listen to us for longer, now we have an opportunity to connect. So now what do we do to connect? Well, what we have to do is go back to look at the vibration and the frequency. Now, if we come from it, let's look at it from a holistic perspective. If you put your hand on your heart and just connect with your heart space, your heart chakra, your heart energy, and you get into that heart space before you speak, you're going to speak always from that heart energy. Because when we have a heart full of love and gratitude, we cannot be in fear. It's impossible. You can't be in those two opposing emotions all at once. You can't be living in love and gratitude and trapped in fear at the same time. It's not going to help. So when we're in fear, we're in our head and we're out of our body. So when I talk about embodying speech, we have to get back into our heart space, and we have to get back into who we truly are as a human being and a spiritual vibration on this planet, and then put an intention in place for the words that we speak. So the intention for me is always going to be help people, serve people, uplift people, inspire people, because I live from my 3 words, which is confidence, playful, and inspiring. And when I step into those 3 words, I am not in fear. I'm not in shrinkage. I'm only in a vibration of energy exchange. And when my heart chakra is open and my throat chakra is open, I can connect vibratorily. That's not even a word. I can connect with really good vibration to my audience. Now, I choose to do that also by adjusting the pitch and the airflow and the volume, because I know when I do those things, I will also connect to people in a different way. It's going to give them interest, and it's going to give them engagement, and it's going to give them inspiration because of the way that I'm using my voice. But when you have a good heart intention and you connect eye to eye, heart to heart, the person on the other side of that connection will feel you. They'll literally feel you. And a great example is when I had to speak in a certain way to one of my clients who was very riled up emotionally, very on edge emotionally. I would add more airflow to my voice. I would add a lower pitch, and I would speak in a way that I know that I would reach her more powerfully. And then at the end of our sessions, she would say, "Oh my God, being with you was like taking a giant Valium." It's like, how nice is that to make other people feel so calm that they feel like they've just taken a Valium, and there's no drugs required. And it's all free, and it's all with the sound of our voice. It's magical.
Yeah, it's beautiful in the way that the voice can transcend other people's emotions and bring them down, or bring them to a level where they're calmer. I've had similar experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that for other people, and there are some very gifted speakers in our space that do that for us. And Tony Robbins is a great example of that. And Lisa Nichols is a great example of that. Oprah is a great example. Matthew McConaughey now is a great example. There are so many really good speakers. The interesting thing is they all have really good acting skills too. And people get this confused. You know, they think that they're good actors and that's why they're good speakers. But no, good actors, as I said, are absolutely in touch with every person. That's all it is. They are absolutely in touch with every emotion. Nothing is squished down and nothing is pushed aside. There's no protection. There's no layers of protection. There's no shield protecting you from another person. No, they take away all their shields. They take away all of their armor, and they just open, loving human beings. And that's what makes them so powerful.
So you call that vulnerability within allowance within yourself?
Absolutely. The invulnerability is power. I was watching an amazing series on Gaia television last night, and I wish I could written down all those quotes. I didn't have a pen with me at the time, but it was right next to your deepest wound is your greatest gift. Isn't that beautiful? And it's so true. When we have this deep, deep trauma and things that have happened in our life that is stopping us or arresting us, stopping us from moving forward in the way that we want, we're focusing on that wound, we're focusing on the pain, we're focusing on the can't. But when we actually start to open out and let that trauma go and let it heal, then we start to see the gift that comes from that trauma too. And it's so true. The most painful times in my life have actually shifted into the most incredible transformations that I've ever experienced. And that would never have happened to me unless I'd gone through the trauma. It just wouldn't have. Timely. Oh, we've got LP here. Thank you for joining us, LP. That's wonderful to have you. We're here with you, Neil. That's good. Timely advice. LP is working with me as well as a speaker. That's fantastic. So do you have any questions or comments to finish up the broadcast today?
Look, I fully appreciate the areas that you've opened up, and to look at the ways of being a better speaker. I have to say, through Speakers Institute, the very similar lines that you've talked about, but the transformation, the big one that I had through bootcamp was this amazing experience of seeing how people that have gone through the pain opened that wound and used that a way of expressing, and really it just took them to a whole different level. So it's very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is part of what I love about what I teach too. We're absolutely on the same wavelength, because it is about that. We've got to speak about it, and not speak about it from a place of wounding or staying a victim, but speaking about it from an enlightened space, knowing that you've learned something, that there was a gift in there somewhere. There's something good that comes out of every tragedy. There just is. You know, I've never seen it not being so. Even if that person has given the gift of inspiration to somebody else because of what they've been through, anything, you know, when we can inspire one person, we've made the world a better place.
Yes. If I can leave one comment, it's
Yes.
when I say at the speakers forums, learn to unlearn what is not yours and the gifts will unfold.
Yes, learn to unlearn what is not yours. I love that. Learn to unlearn what is not yours and the gifts will unfold. That was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, I hope you have enjoyed this broadcast today. We covered a lot of stuff. We were talking about memorizing content, making a script sound more conversational, and then building that vibration and that beautiful frequency so we can connect with our audience. If you have any questions around this broadcast, or whether you would like to apply to be one of the speakers being coached live on air, please just message me below this video. I will PM you with the instructions on how you can jump on. So every week I'm inviting one person to join me live, and then I will coach you around something that you're struggling with for free. There's no charge for this, but I can only help one person for 1 week, every single week on Wednesday mornings. So we'll just check the comments one more time before we get off. There you go. Thank you so much, LP, for joining us. And you're seeing this, of course, on the Voice of Confidence TV in YouTube, and also on Find Your Voice Aspiring Speakers Club in Facebook. Thank you so much, Neil, for joining me today and for this enlightening conversation. It will help a lot of people. Thank you. Have a good day, guys. Bye.